Hello, everyone. So my name is Clement Duval. I'm the Technical Training Director in ATEM. Today, I'm going to speak about pedagogy, and more precisely, teaching products and technologies. So for those who didn't know me, who don't know me yet, who haven't attended the presentation I made in January for QBR, just a little reminder on how the internal technical program is composed. So we have three main domains. We have the core technologies, the use cases, and the markets. So core technologies, these are actually the technologies that ATEM products rely on. So networking, Linux, Docker, Kubernetes, MPEG-2TS, video coding for to understand the different codecs, video streaming, HLS, Dixie, CMAF, and so on, encryption and ad insertion. So these core technologies are very important courses because they actually build the foundation of our products. Every ATEM products, they are based on these technologies. So it's very important that all us technical people, pre-sales, post-sales, have at least a basic understanding of these core technologies. And then we have the use cases. So use cases are built upon 5 segmentations. So we have the contribution, media transcoding, virtual programming and channel origination, which is actually Titan Playout, OTT and live headend. So what are these? These are actually product trainings in disguise, meaning that the traditional way of teaching product would be you see a product, you learn the GUI, you learn the input section, the preset, the output, you learn how to build different use cases on the product itself. But here, what I'm proposing here for this training program is actually go beyond the configuration of the product itself and to understand how the product is actually inserted within a workflow. So that instead of understanding and learning how we use our product, we in ATEM, we're going to understand and learn how the customers are using the products and how these products are actually inserted within their workflow. This will give much more perspective to the actual learning of the product because by learning use cases instead of product themselves, we're going to learn where the signals are coming from. We're going to learn where the signals are going to and how the customers think the usage of our products. So as an example, contribution, which is already out, it's about the Super Bowl 53, 2019. So in this course, you're going to learn how to configure a CM5000 and a DR5000 for a 4210-bit 1080p 60 contribution link with, for example, Dolby E, with timecode pass-through, SMPTE2038, and all this kind of fun stuff. And in this course, we're going to deep dive inside the configuration of both of the devices, CM and DR, so that in the end, you will have a very strong reference points that you can use afterwards to understand more use cases. So this is for the use case or the product course. And then we have the market. So the market course are actually pre-sales course. These are primarily intended to pre-sales. So they follow the same segmentation, contribution, media transcoding, Titan Playout, OTT live headend. And in this course, we're going to teach what a pre-sales should know about a particular market segment. So understand the typical architecture, understand the key players, the competition, understand how to size the products, understand what are the key features and benefits, what to pitch when they are going to sell a product or a solution to a prospect. So these are intended for pre-sales. Okay, so in this presentation, I'm going to mostly speak about pedagogy, and I'm going to focus on these two set of trainings. But before I go further, I will just speak a bit about myself and where I'm coming from and how I came up with these ideas and theory about teaching and learning. So I've been with ATEM for about 12 years. I started as a support technician. So I spent 2 years in France. I was managing RMAs, and then I was sent to Los Angeles to do some support and pre-sales. So I really, I like my job. I was good at actually operating devices. So I really learned how to configure Titan file Windows at that time. I learned how to configure CM5000, DR5000. I would actually know the GUI almost by heart. But in the end, I realized that anytime I had a problem that was not actually within a predefined set of configuration that I learned, I was absolutely stuck. I was unable to think by myself, and I had to rely on R&D most of the time. So being 9 hours behind was very, very challenging and very frustrating for me. So one day I decided to deep dive and say, okay, it seems that learning the GUI by heart and knowing exactly how to configure a product is not enough to be able to think about the product. So I will need to deep dive into technologies. And at that time, I was really passionate about networking. I was really curious about what's happening behind the scene when you do a ping, how the switches work, how the routing works, the internet routing, and so on. So I started to read books about networking, so I really enjoyed it. But in the end, I realized that reading books was not enough. I was not able to actually apply any skills for my day-to-day job. I was not able to explain concept. I was not able to help my colleagues or to discuss solutions with the customers as it relates to networking. So I decided to move on to watching YouTube videos, which were also very great because we have great instructors out there. But yet, after a few months watching videos, which was actually very comfy, I was sitting in my sofa watching videos. That was great. But in the end, I was still very passive, and I could still not actually gain any skills out of that. I couldn't apply anything. So this is when actually I moved on to practicing. So in networking, if you want to practice networking, you have to build your own virtual lab using simulators. So that was GNS3 at that time. So I started to practice networking. And of course, I had in mind to pass my CCNA, so Cisco Certified Network Associate, which I passed in December 2015. And then I went on in 6 months after I got my CCNP, so Network Professional. I really, really enjoyed it. And I decided to take the big step and go for the CCIE, the Cisco Certified Inter-Network Expert, which was actually a huge step compared to CCNP because it was known that it will require at least 1,000 hours of study time, which is big. And since I am kind of an outsider, I don't work in the networking industry per se, and also because I'm kind of a slow learner, I need a few iterations before I can grasp the concepts. I figured that I will need actually double, which is 2,000 hours of study time, which is big. So when you're in front of this wall, these mountains of this project that requires so much work, you really need to focus on what is the most important, the most efficient way of learning. And I realized that reading books, watching videos couldn't be the core of my learning. But the core of my learning had to be practicing. I had to practice all the time. And reading and watching videos could be an accessory to the practicing, but not the contrary. So I was practicing, doing labs for 1.5 years. And then 6 months before the actual exam, it was known that you had to join a study group because the amount of knowledge and skills and the fast, you have to be fast to apply all configuration and to understand all the protocols. You had to join a study group or at least to find a study buddy, which I found 6 months before passing my exam. It was a guy from Cogeco based in Ontario. So we had the same level. He was actually a network engineer. So he had a lot to gain from him. So we worked together as a team. We were exchanging labs, struggles, questions. He was teaching me things. I was teaching him things. We were discussing concepts. We were trying to find solutions together. And that was actually determinant in me gaining my CCIE in August 2018. That was an 8-hour exam, which was extremely tough. And from there, I realized I gained actually not only knowledge about networking, but also about the method of learning. And this is actually the point of my presentation here. It's not about bragging about my achievements. It's about showing you what I learned during this 2-year intensive journey where I had to really concentrate on the most efficient way of learning things. So in this presentation, I'm going to expose where all these methods are coming from. So luckily for me, my entire experience was actually backed up with a theory called the pyramid of learning, which I actually discovered a few months back when I was thinking about this very presentation. So the pyramid of learning is actually a study from the early 60s from the National Training Laboratories. And it says the following. If you follow a lecture, you have, well, your retention rate is about 5%, which means for every hour of lecture, you would retain about 3 minutes. You know, when you were at the university, you would sit down, you would listen to the professor talking. You may be writing on a chalkboard, you may be taking notes, but in the end, when you get out of this lecture, and especially the day after, you will actually don't remember much. And this is what it is. And then the reading. This study, the pyramid of learning, says that out of 10 pages that you read, you would actually retain 1, which is a 10% retention rate. Then the audiovisual. So audiovisual is, by sense, this is actually the PowerPoint presentation. When you create an experience with the reading, the visual, the voice of the instructor, graph, illustration, drawing, all this together will actually trigger more areas in the brain, which will increase actually the retention rate to reach 20%, which is good, but still not the best. And then the demonstration. So I particularly like this one. Remember at school when I guess most of you studied math. So we were learning formulas, like for example, Pythagoras, and the teacher would show you the formula, but he will also show you how to, he will demonstrate this formula, how we can, what was the inception of the formula. So by seeing the physical process of demonstrating the formula, you would actually retain much better this actual formula, or you would understand it much better. And then the discussion. So group discussion, when you join a study group, when you discuss topics, you are much better inclined to retain the topics you're talking about. So here we're talking about 50%. So basically half of the discussion you will have with your peers about a particular topic, you will retain it at least 24 hours after. The best is the practice, as my own experience showed. When you start practicing things, this is when you retain the most, because your brain is really in active mode. You have to search, you struggle, you have to look for solutions. It triggers so many areas in your brain that it is more likely to go into the long-term memory. So here we can see two different types of learning. We have the passive learning on the left. So as it implies, you just sit down, you ingest data. But this passive learning is, as it seems, it's not very efficient. It's more like a short-term memory. And then you have the active learning, where you actively participate in processing the data and ingesting it. And this has a much better retention rate. So this is the theory. Now I'm going to explain how I'm going to apply all this for the training program in ATEM. But first, I just would like to clarify why I'm speaking about all this. It's not just to explain big theories about things. It's also because if we provide an adapted pedagogy, we're going to increase the return on investment. Of course, if my pedagogy was to say, okay, you want to learn MPEG-2TS, here's the book about MPEG-2TS. It's a good book. It will take you 10 hours to read. So the CE, so the support guide or pre-sales, will actually read it, and after it's 10 hours, unfortunately, he or she would retain only 1 hour. So this is not what we want, because here we would waste actually 9 hours of their time. So here we really need to maximize the retention rate to make sure that every hour spent studying will have the maximum return on investment. And also, we don't want our CEs to have a short-term memory, which means we don't want people to do things last minute. I don't know how to say in English, but in French we say bachoter. So you learn things last minute very fast. You pass the exam, and then 3 days after you forget everything. So here we're going to try also to avoid that. We're going to make sure that the knowledge that are being gained in this program, they go into the long-term memory part of the brain. All right. So let's start with not the lecture actually, because we don't do lectures anymore. So we just get rid of lectures. It has a very poor retention rate. I'm actually going to start with the audiovisual. And audiovisual, it's obviously the PowerPoint. So that's the material that is being delivered for the training program. So here I'm going to give an example. So I'm going to open the portal, which most of you have seen already, I guess. And I'm going to go, for example, in certification technology, and I'm going to open the networking technologies and see how it looks like. So in networking technology, we have multiple sections, and all of these sections are actually short videos, like 8 minutes, 6 minutes, 2 minutes, 4 minutes. So if I open these videos, for example, at GMPv2 snooping, I will see that it's actually, in that case here, it's me talking over in a PowerPoint and making some drawings. So the primary material we're going to use is actually PowerPoint, but also we're going to deliver the full experience with the instructor talking and drawing and some graphs and some animations, as you can see here. So that will actually optimize a bit the retention rate. So PowerPoint presentation should be multimedia, of course, and short lengths. That's very important, because if we do short length videos, they can fit within a busy schedule. You can watch, let's say, a video about PTS in MPEG-2TS during your lunch break, without having to watch a long video and try to remember where you left off and so on. And then we have another tool which I particularly like, which is the graphic tablet. So a graphic tablet, it allows to enhance the experience. So if I explain a concept, but if I underline what I want to explain, so underline, I can circle, I can draw a little guy here, even if it doesn't look like much, but I can actually enhance the experience. You can see exactly what's on my mind as I'm explaining complex concepts. So the graphic tablet for me is a very powerful tool that comes as a complement of the PowerPoint presentation. So next is the reading. So here for the reading, I actually provide a PDF document along with in the course. So I'm going to show you. But here the reading is not the actual reading per se. It's actually, it comes on support of the course. It's not meant to be used for the learning part. So here we expect students to actually use this PDF as a guide after they actually understood the concept. So here there are a whole bunch of, it's 150 pages. So the goal here is for students to go to this PDF, to read it after they watch the video, so that they can get the different way of explaining the concept, to get more data, more details about things. So that's for the reading part. And then the demonstration. So my philosophy for these trainings, for the technology and use case trainings, it's always to demonstrate the key concepts, or at least the complex ones. For example, when I was teaching MPEG-2TS, I really felt that I needed to not only explain what was PTS and PCR, using PowerPoint animation and drawing, but also to demonstrate using analyzers, TS analyzers, Wireshark to build graph with the different values, increasing values of PTS, PCR, to demonstrate actually the mechanism and the concept, so that students can get a full picture of what are these concepts. The same for the SCODI30. SCODI30, the splicing protocol, which is a bit complex at first, because it's a series of messages that are exchanged between an ad server and a splicer. And to me, the best way to explain it is to combine PowerPoint presentation, drawings, explanation, but also to demonstrate using a real example to show the physical process, how the splicing is being made in real time. And also during this demonstration, the instructor can struggle. And that's interesting, because when your demo doesn't work as expected, you're going to start troubleshooting, you're going to start verifying things here and there, and students will actually learn out of that. So even when demonstrations don't go as planned, it's good. We can learn something. Throughout the courses, I will also provide all the materials for the students to be able to reproduce on their side. So, for example, the MPEG-2 TS, the PTS, they can actually, we would provide a TS file, and they would be able to use the same tools as we were using, the instructors, to be able to analyze it on their side. So that's also an important aspect. And then the group discussions. So a group discussion is something I really need to work on, or we need to work on actually, is to be able to build like a community of a group of people passing certain certifications, so that we can actually talk about it. We can share our struggle, our doubts. We can teach each other. We can discuss solutions to a certain problem. And then to go a bit beyond, maybe we can start creating games or challenges to increase engagement and motivation to learn, to increase the team spirit. So that's something I will really try to initiate for the second part of the year, because I think it will actually also increase the retention rate actually. And then the practicing. So that's, to me, that's the best. Practicing and experimenting. The entire course is built around practicing. Everything will concentrate to the practicing part. So, for example, in the networking course that I did a few months back, I provide every single PCAP or network traffic, network capture that I was demonstrating during the course. So, DHCP, DNS, HGMP, I provide a PCAP so that student on their own, they can actually redo all the process, the analysis method that I'm doing using their own tools, pretty much like the demonstration. That's one thing. And then for the quizzes, because we also have quizzes between the videos in order for them to check actually their knowledge. So that actually, it's a kind of practice, because you go from a mode where you were actually watching videos to then you have actually to apply what you watched, and you actually go into an active mode. And actually, it's a kind of practice. But in these quizzes, I'm really pushing instructors or teachers, trainers, to build some scenario-based questions. Not just dry questions like what is the definition of something. So really like scenarios, like imagine you are with a customer and he's asking you this, what will you answer and stuff like that. So it's difficult. This kind of questions are a bit difficult to set up, but we will try to push on that. So every single courses, they will end with a series of practice exams. So hands-on. So for example, here for the networking, it's about analyzing capture files and answering questions. And every single of the final exams, so certification exam, will be about hands-on. I really insisted on that because the final goal of the training is really to practice. In our daily life, if we speak about networking, we don't answer multiple choice questions. In a daily life, we analyze PCAP from customers. So this is what we need to learn to do. And this is what we need to assess people on. Their ability to analyze files, to find problems, to do some troubleshooting, to find answers, to ask the right questions, and so on. So hands-on life for practice. And also something that I'm experimenting is I will never give answers to the quizzes. So there are quizzes, there is a certain passing rate for you to be able to unlock the final exam and so on. But I will never give the answers because I really want people to struggle a bit, not too much. I think struggling is really part of the practice experience. You really need to struggle a bit to when you don't find a solution, you have to go on Google, you have to try things here and there. And this is actually when you learn the most. So by not giving the answers to the quiz, students will start looking for solutions. They will start developing their own method, their own tools, and that's going to be very, very efficient. Because in my experience, as soon as you give the answer to a quiz, the explicit answer, okay, that was answer A, B, or C, that's it. You stop thinking. You say, oh, that was not bad. In fact, that was pretty easy. But the same as reading, you read things, you find it very easy. But in the end, if you are without your book, you're lost. So That's a detail, but I found it. I'm just trying to see how it works. Right. So if I want to summarize all that, I was saying that everything is around practicing. So the audio video material refers actually to practice, because in the end, it's about practicing. So of course, the PowerPoint will expose a bit of theory to explain the concept, but soon it will go into a practice mode. You take it to the real life. You start to personalize the knowledge that you gain through the explanation, and you start to practice. So practicing also, it's about demonstrating. So you demonstrate concepts. You will see the instructor doing it. You will try to repeat it yourself, and it will be about practicing again. Reading, it's a complement of practicing, because you will read more details that will reinforce your skills. So it's also about practicing. Discussion in teams, you will discuss what you don't understand. And in return, you will have to test more things. So you ask a question and the guy says, yeah, so we need to try it in real life to see how it works. And you, in the end, you end up practicing. So it's all around practicing here. So another dimension of the learning method is the repetition. And I really like this one, because this one worked for me a lot. As I was saying, I'm a slow learner. I need to hear things multiple times, and preferably differently. So that's why this system, this video system is great, because we can replay videos as many times as we want. So sometimes, it's nice, but it's true that after a certain amount of time, when you hear the same thing over and over, you're kind of stuck. It won't help anymore. So the key, I think, and that's my belief, is that if you explain concepts several times but differently, this is when you start learning the most. And a very good example, well, two examples of that, is the summary and recap. At the end of presentations, usually we do a summary or a recap, and it's actually a way of repeating what you've said in the slides, but differently or in a more concise manner. And also, and I really like this one, the meaningful slide titles. Remember, Remy was saying that the space on top of the slides, it's a space to put information. So if you put agenda, if you put learning method or MPEG-2TS, it doesn't mean anything. It's a waste of space. But it's not only that. It's also because between the actual contents of the slide and the message here, which is the message you want to convey, it's a kind of repetition. You repeat it so that people will have a visual representation, or it's a spatial repetition. They will see the message here, they will see the message here, and it will help their brain to connect the dots and be able to better understand what you're trying to convey. So that was the repetition in space, but now in time, we call it the space repetition. So space repetition means that, so for example, it's much better to learn a topic a little bit every day rather than a big chunk in one day. That's why I'm not really in favor of like boot camps and intensive program or one full day training thing, because the brain is not able to ingest that amount of data within a day. I really think it's much better to do 2 hours per day for 4 days rather than 8 hours in one day, because your brain cannot actually ingest all that. So in the end, if you do 8 hours of training in one day, you will probably retain half of it and the rest will be gone. Whichever practice, reading, audiovisual it is, your brain has limits. So for the certifications, also for external certification like AWS that we are working on now, I will really push to have a small amount of learning per day rather than a full day of training. So another thing about repetition is that our brain is much more inclined to memorize things that relate to things that we already know. So it sounds a bit weird, but I will give you an example. Children, you give to children a poem to learn. You all learned poem when you were young, Baudelaire, or I don't know, famous poetry from 200 years ago. It was not really meaningful to you, so it was hard to learn. you were struggling, in the evening to learn, a few paragraphs. It was hard because it did not relate to you. It didn't relate to anything that you like or what you are. However, the same children that struggle to learn a poem can easily learn a full album of their favorite pop singer because it's actually relates to what they know, what they are, to their life, and so on. So, I mean, maybe it's obvious, but we memorize better things that relate to something we already know, and especially that we like. And here, I'm going to apply it. It will actually justify my theory about the use case, the reference use case. I was saying that in contribution, for example, we are learning a full 42210B 1080p60 contribution link. So we deep dive inside this use case. We see every single parameter. We justify, we put a why on everything. So why we are doing 422, why 10-bit, why we are passing through this type of data. So we have a very exhaustive and thorough understanding of that particular use case. But once you have a clear reference use case in mind, then it's much easier to understand other contribution use cases because you will always relate it to something that you know already. So that's why somebody who takes this contribution use case, who takes it seriously, who has a good grade, who reviews all the lessons and the quizzes, who is curious about things, will probably have no difficulty of understanding other use cases, which are actually different, of course. There will be different parameters, but since it relates to something they really know good, which is this reference use case, the Super Bowl, they will be able to retain it much better. Another side of the learning, which I haven't talked about, is actually, I call it the BMW, the Mercedes of learning, which is the teaching. And I'm actually a living proof of that because I really like to teach. And I know that once you teach something, you really know it well. That's for sure. Because it triggers so many areas in your brain that you have to really, really actively explain concept, to demonstrate it. And it's tough. It's really tough. But in the end, once you taught it, for sure it goes in the long-term memory. I've taught SCODI 3035 networking, MPEG-2TS, Kubernetes, and I know that all these concepts, they are in my brain, they are carved in my brain, and it will take time for them to be removed. Why I'm speaking about teaching? Because I think we should have our level 2 supports using this method for them to have a very solid foundation on technologies. Of course, it's not mandatory. Some level 2 support don't necessarily like teaching. It's not a problem. But I think level 2 support should have not only advanced knowledge on advanced topics, but also solid foundation on technologies, because this is how we start, actually, how we build upon for advanced topic. And to do this, they should really take it the step further, not only practicing, but also to teach. And they should teach to whom? To level 1 support and to all the others. So last, about the pedagogy, my vision about product learning. So how I see the teaching of products. So let's take an example of Titan Live microservice v2, which will be coming in 2021. So what is a product? A product is actually a combination of technologies. So here, networking, so streaming, stream out, the management traffic. You need to understand how the product is communicate with the outside world. Microservice, so we cannot avoid it. This is the new Windows. We have to understand Windows, but now we need to understand Kubernetes, Docker. This is the operating system, quote unquote. The streaming, so what formats are being streamed by this Titan Live microservice v2, so HLS, ZXC, UDP-RTP, CMAR, and so on. MPEG-2TS, of course, that's the transport of the video. The video codec, we have new codecs coming up, so we need to understand at least the basic principle, of the spatial redundancy, the temporal redundancy. And also some more technologies on top of that, add insertion and encryption. So a product is really a collection of these fundamental technologies. And for us to be able to fully understand the product, we need to understand not only, or we need to have basics not only on these technologies, but also on the use case associated with them. So you can have different types of use case, which will use different technology to different extent. But to me, an engineer really need to get a basic understanding of all this, plus the use case to really understand the product at the technical level, of course. So this is, I'm coming back to my little story at the beginning. At the beginning of my career, I was actually thinking like an operator. I was thinking that if I want to know the product, I need to know the GUI by heart. And it happened. I knew the GUI by heart. I could almost set up a stream with blind eyes. But I was not thinking like an engineer. I was not thinking that I need to understand what's happening under the hood. And this is what we need to think of as engineers. We need to be able to have a basic knowledge on all these technologies, plus understand what customers are doing with our product, what they want to do, so that we're going to have a real understanding of the product. So advice for studying efficiently, I would say watch video and then practice. You watch videos again and you practice. So it's all around, going back to the practicing. Practice again and discuss. Remember that discussing, it has very high retention rate. Practice again, struggle and read a little, because you also need to read a bit. But I would say the most important, and this is actually what triggered actually my entire interest, for learning and studying, is actually just to be curious.